Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Morgantown Board of Zoning Appeals. Okay. Please turn off all cell phones or other devices that may disrupt these proceedings. It is the duty of this board to consider requests for relief from the requirements of the city's zoning regulations, to consider conditional use permit requests, and to hear administrative appeals. The board conducts business in the following order: review, amend, and approve minutes of a previous meeting, take up unfinished business, move to new business, and then conclude with announcements from staff. Each request is heard in the order that it appears on the agenda. For each conditional use and variance request, the following is done. We will introduce the agenda item, and the planning division will present a staff report which may or may not offer a recommendation. The applicant agent will be asked to present their justification for their request, which may include questions by members of the board. We will then open a public hearing to hear testimony in support of or in opposition to the request. Rules regarding public testimony are as follows. Anyone wishing to testify during the public hearing may do so once recognized by me or may, in lieu of oral testimony, submit written testimony to the chair. All recognized speakers must approach the podium, state their name and address for the record, and speak clearly into the microphone. All comments must be addressed to the board, should be relevant to the application, and may not be of a personal nature or personal attacks. All speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. If members of the board have any questions of the speaker, that time will not be counted toward his or her 5 minutes. If there's a large number of speakers, including many who are part of groups or organizations, we may, to avoid repetitive comments, elect to ask for a representative to speak on behalf of the group or organization. Speakers are notified that irrelevant comments or comments of a personal nature or personal attacks may result in the speaker forfeiting his or her opportunity to participate in the public hearing. We may elect to recognize the applicant agent at the end of the public hearing to provide rebuttal or additional comments, which will be limited to an additional 5 minutes. If members of the board have any questions of the applicant agent, that time will not be counted toward the additional 5. After all testimony is heard, we will declare the public hearing closed and no further public comment will be permitted. Uncivil, unruly, and or disruptive behavior at any time during this meeting is prohibited and will result in removal from this public meeting. State law requires the board to consider findings of fact for each conditional use and variance request. The request cannot be granted unless a majority of the quorum present finds in the positive of all of the findings of fact. The board may elect to continue the hearing to another date if it needs additional information. Applicants and requesting parties will be notified in writing by the planning division of the board's findings and conclusions. Regardless of whether a request is approved or denied, decisions of the board can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County within 30 days upon receipt of the written notification from planning. Any work done relating to decisions rendered by this board during this 30-day appeals period or potential appeals period is at the sole financial risk of the applicant. Thanks for your consideration and respect for these proceedings and the opinions of all meeting participants. We're going to call to order and do a roll call. Mr. Benison, Chair, is present. Mr. Misfell.
Here.
And Mr. Martin.
Here.
Okay. We have 2 regular board members absent, but we still have a quorum, so we can continue. We have meeting minutes from 2 previous regular meetings for May 20th and June 17th, 2026. Does anyone have any? Anyone have an opportunity to look? All right. So anything, any emendations or modifications, revisions?
Not for me.
Oh, All right, so I'm going to move to accept the meeting minutes from those two previous meetings, May 20th and June 17th, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to accept meeting minutes from those two previous meetings with a second by Mr. Martin. How do we vote?
Aye.
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 So those meeting minutes referenced in the meeting packet have been accepted for inclusion in the legal record. We have one case under old business, that is VAR 26-019 Advantage Health, 699 Borough Street, request by Advantage Health for variance relief in compliance with section 1365 and 1367 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding parking lot requirements. City Tax District 15, 7th Ward, Tax Map 55, Parcel 93 in the B2 Service Business District.
For VAR 26019, in the packet as well as on the screen, is just a view of what the property looks like. We will be looking at the building in the center, as well as here is plans submitted in reference to what the requests are. You can see on the screen as well in the packet of a proposed loop road going behind the building and then looping back into the parking lot. There, loop up and around. The X is to reference 2 parking spaces that the building owner is going to be losing to allow for fire access, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as the applicant if they wish. But the applicant is seeking a variance regarding parking lot and landscaping standards. In preparation for a potential development above the referenced property, the applicant wishes to make a gravel driving structure around their use. This would be without the referenced island and landscaping requirements usually required, as well as a material exemption allowing for gravel when the normal is concrete or asphalt. Additionally, the submitted design might need to change to be compliant with fire safety and engineering requirements. This variance will only apply for allowing of gravel and not having to do landscaping or any island buffers for that loop road around the back as required by zoning ordinance. As I mentioned, we have discussed with the applicant with fire, and they were able to get one of their emergency vehicles in through the entrance, down and loop around to the back, and then using those 2 spaces we're able to then safely go out and then return back to the street, so the building can still be accessed by EMS vehicles, not needing to widen that potential road around it. Refer to the sections of code below found in the packet. In summary, the applicant wishes to get a variance from the above referenced codes for potential development relating to their property, landscaping buffers, islands, as well as allowing for gravel instead of concrete or asphalt. Please see the attached application to review the findings of fact listed, as staff have had no comments or modifications to these. This attachment can be found below the conditions. Planning staff have no objections to the applicant's request for variance. If the Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the variance relief in accordance to the city's planning and zoning code, the following conditions would apply. The standard condition, which is any other modification or change to the site plan, would need to be compliant with the city's planning ordinance, or they would have to either come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals to request additional variances, or they would need to make it compliant and then not need to do that. The second would be Advantage is actually requesting that this variance for be a period of 2 years or 6 months after their civil condemnation case is concluded, whichever period is longer. The city would like to would prefer to set a date, like it's the 2-year date, and then have either an administrative check-in or then return to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Additionally, staff receive documentation to our satisfaction regarding agreement with the neighboring parcel, just showing that they would be allowed by the parcel owner to do this development as it would be encroaching. With discussion with the applicant, they already have that, but that would just be a condition that we'd have that they would provide it just as a safety measure. Otherwise, that concludes staff report.
Right. Do we have a representative?
Yes.
Remotely? Well, just one moment. So, with regard to this specific case, the prior standing issues, the DOH issues, Can you speak to that?
Not to their case or anything related to it, other than I can describe that there is work being done by the DOH on there that has required them to move their entrance into the property. And they believe that with the moved entrance, there are issues with flow of traffic, and that is partially why we also brought fire to show that we could still maneuver through. It is tight. It is very a close maneuvering, but they can do it. But this, and they can speak way more to this, of course, but they've had to change their entrance from where it is currently, which is lower. They've moved it up to where previously it was just parking and like a landscaping area. So they've had to move their entrance, which has kind of started this. At least that's what their request is. But they can speak more to that.
Okay. I'll let the representative speak to the detail or the nature of the request for a period of 2 years or 6 months after.
I'm Carly King. I'm with Bowles Rice. I represent Advantage and Kevin Trembush. So we are asking for this variance. I'm sure you have all seen the traffic on Van Voris and experienced it. Advantage is part of the victim of that condemnation proceeding. We have had to move the entrance, like Saylor mentioned, and we are also losing part of our entranceway, our actual roadway. So because of that, you know, the road is also changing, not by us, but by the DOH where the stop is. And because of that, where our entrance is, it would not be able to swing right or swing wide enough to get out into the road. So we are having to move that up to enable the flow of traffic and prevent further congestion there.
Right. Are there regardless of the engineering of the entrance egress point, are there DOH requirements that you're required to be in compliance with? Distance back, meaning distance back from that intersection there.
I have not conferred with DOH on that, and nobody has said that to me. The city approved the width of the entrance and the distance, so I don't believe that the DOH has any say on that, but I don't know, and I haven't conferred with the DOH. We are obviously adverse to the DOH in this proceeding.
So is this just temporary?
Yes, this is temporary, and that's why we're seeking this. We don't know how long the DOH is going to take to do this. Like I said, you all live here. You've seen how long it's taken thus far, and it's only halfway, not even. So we would like to leave it temporary for now while we work out the condemnation proceeding with the DOH. We don't know what they're going to be willing to cover. They may be willing to pave part of that entrance for us. They may be willing to compensate us a little bit more, and we pave the entrance ourselves. So for that reason, we don't want to incur the cost of the asphalt, then have the DOH come and jackhammer it up to then either relay it or not pay us for what we did relay. So yes, this is temporary, and
so in other words, you're anticipating a separate application for a permanent. Is that what you're saying?
No.
You won't need it once it's settled.
Yes, correct, yes.
Okay. Just so-
And we're just at the mercy of the DOH, like our tires and our potholes.
Yeah, to add, they will need to acquire like building permits with the city, but as far as even for like this work, for example, we'll need a permit. And if it's restrained by time, if you do impose like a 6 year or not,
Just have them come back every year.
Sure, you guys can amend the timeline to whatever you think is reasonable, be it a year, 2 years. They've suggested 2 years or that 6 month amount, but the board can kind of change that number to what you would like it to be, and either have them come back to the BZA or come back to the city and do an administrative check-in. Is things still proceeding, things like that. That would be up to you guys. But yes, this will just be temporary based on that. And when they would eventually, if they do get to the point for like a permanent road, gravel, asphalt, or any development like that, they'll need additional permits. It would need a variance for those if those would be non-compliant. This would just apply for this loop road that they're projecting now.
So rather than having them come back every year, we could just make it subject to administrative review.
Yeah, you could, yeah. They would have to come back every year and check in with the city for administrative review. If upon review, they still need another year or they want that time, then they just come back in a year until the city administration would, based on what they provide us, if it would still be reasonable or not.
And this is obviously not something, we're going to drag out again. We're just at the mercy of the DOH. So when they're going to be done, then we will get it done. So I understand the city would prefer the 2 years just for our kind of time period purposes and thinking that we're at the mercy of the DOH. We would prefer to have the 6 months after to have that concluded, but if we are going to do the 2 years, then we would prefer to just do administrative check-ins. This has already been a really costly and time-consuming endeavor for my client, and anything that doesn't involve too much paperwork, and maybe we can just, whatever you all need from us, but communicate and have an open line of communication.
You prefer what for 6 months?
So on it, we have the advantage request is variance for a period of 2 years or 6 months after the condemnation is concluded.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we, we still have to do the public hearing, but can we just add extension or modification of requested variance can be approved by planning division subject to review and administrative check-ins, as well as making it subject to consultation by affected party or impacted parties, and just roll it
Or
into
just
that
make it
second.
conditioned on
But just-
periodic review by planning, and then planning.
I think we should
She
roll it
won't have
into
to
the
come here.
condition though.
Hmm?
I think we should roll it into one of the conditions though.
Okay.
Any questions?
And also just, if there's any questions on the land use agreement issue, we did submit it with our application if you all want to see that, or I'm happy to get you a copy of that.
Is that on file with planning?
Yes.
Yeah, we have
Already?
it. It's
Yes.
just like a catch condition to
Yeah.
make sure, because it's not technically their property, but they do have an agreement.
All right.
I don't have anything else.
Okay, no further questions? Thank you all so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so, do you have anything further?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for this case. Again, this is, we are opening the public hearing for this case VAR 26-019 Advantage Health, 699 Burroughs Street. Anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case, please do so now. All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing for this.
I think we should approve with that condition, the periodic review by planning. But what did you want to fold it into?
The second condition.
Is the administrative check-in that Sailor mentioned not, would that be with planning? Okay, so we don't need to really add any extra verbiage specifically calling them out.
Right, yeah, for the administrative check-in, it would involve planning, fire, engineering, relevant departments with the city.
All right, well, if you feel comfortable not adding specific verbiage, I guess that's fine with me.
Sure.
And then if a determination is made that a separate application is required, then you'll just advise.
Right, yeah, so if the BZA would like to add to condition 2 at the end of it, with periodic being yearly or every 2 years, of a check-in just with the city administration, then during those check-ins, if it is determined that they, with projected development or future development or whatever those check-ins, would lead us to believe, if they would need to get a variance or something else based on those, then they would have to apply for a variance and then go through that process, have it advertised, much like it was for this meeting. But that would be determined at those administrative check-ins if it would either be continued, this variance would be granted now if that's continued until the next check-in, or if based on that, if they need another variance or would lose, that temporary ability to do that.
All right.
It would just depend on whatever those check-ins would result.
So just extension or modification of requested temporary variance can be approved by planning, subject to review and administrative check-ins, and also subject to consultation with impacted parties. Planning will advise applicant on any required subsequent variances.
Yep. Sure. Would the board give a time frame for those check-ins? Would it be yearly, 2 years, 3 years? Would it be?
What does planning think? What did you think?
Every 6 months?
What makes sense for you?
1 year or 2 years. 2 years would be fine. Every 2 years, they have to do a check-in with us.
I'm fine with 2
Would be
years.
fine.
These check-ins will occur at 1-year intervals
Okay.
following expiration of the temporary.
You would prefer the 1 year to the 2 years?
Well, I mean, that's what Mr. Thompson
Okay.
recommends, and that's, I was gonna say maybe 6 months, because things can change.
The interesting thing, the reason 6 months, a little more for a year or beyond, if it was temporary, if they were just doing this on a 6-month basis, they actually wouldn't need the variances. It would just be a temporary gravel loop road, which are allowed up to 6 months. So they're kind of requesting beyond that.
Let's go with 1 year then.
Okay.
And then,
Where's the findings of fact?
yeah. It seems pretty straightforward. Do you have any questions about those?
I move to accept the findings of fact.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the findings of fact for VAR 26-019,
Second.
and we have a second from Mr. Martin. So how do we vote on the findings of fact?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So I move to grant the variance for this case, VAR 26-019, subject, of course, to the standard variance, which is referenced on page 31 of the packet, and the second non-standard variance, or condition, excuse me, which reads, Advantage requests this variance for a period of 2 years or 6 months after the civil condemnation case, civil action number 23-P-214, Monongalia County Court is concluded, whichever period is longer. And then we added that verbiage regarding the extension of the temporary, if needed. And also additionally, if a separate variance application is required of the applicant, planning will advise. And the review periods will be, or the check-ins will occur at 1 year intervals following expiration of the temporary.
Seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion to grant. We have a second by Mr. Misfelt. How do we vote?
Aye.
Aye. So we have granted your requested variance. As you well know, I'll just read, applicants, you will be notified in writing from Mr. Thompson in planning of our findings and conclusions and the determination we just rendered. Regardless of whether a request is approved or denied, decisions of the board can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Monongalia County. And that's a 30-day appeals window. Any work that you or your client undertakes during that 30-day window, you do at your sole financial risk. But you'll have correspondence within probably 10 days or 7 to 10 days. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming down this evening. Okay, the next case is VAR 26-035, Matt Wise at 200 Belmar Avenue. Request by Matt Wise for variance relief in compliance with section 1369.07 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding conditions for permitted signs. City Tax District 13, Second Ward, Tax Map 26, Parcel 168 in the R2 Single and Two Family Residential District.
As Chris referenced, VAR 26035, map wise. In the packet, as well as on the screen, is a view showing where the property is located. And then the second image is a photographic illustration of where they plan to put it. The applicant is seeking a variance regarding size standards for signs in an R1A district. The material, as well as other aspects of the sign, are permitted per review. The size of the reference wall sign is 35 square feet, which is larger than the 12 square feet permitted by right. Refer to the sections of code below in the packet, as well as submitted designs. In summary, the applicant wishes to get a variance regarding 23 square feet for a wall sign at the property addressed at 200 Belmar Avenue. Please see the attached application to review the findings of fact listed. Staff have had no comments or modifications to these. This attachment can be found below with conditions. Planning also have no objections to the applicant's request for this variance. If the BZA grants the applicant variance relief in accordance with the city's planning and zoning code, the following conditions will apply. The only condition on this variance is the standard condition. If they were to change something that would be non-compliant with the code, they'd either have to come back to the BZA or amend it to be correct by the city ordinance. That concludes staff report.
All right, thank you. Do you have a representative for this case? Okay. This is for VAR 26-035. Do we have any correspondence on this or from the applicant?
No, I've not received any correspondence from the applicant or from any members of the public.
And it's just aerial, right? It's not materials at all?
Right, yeah, it's for Greek letters. This is a, to the best of my understanding, a fraternity, and they would like to put up a Greek letters on the side of their building. The material is permitted and it's non-illuminated. It's just the square footage. I kind of wish the applicant was here to add a little bit more to this, but based on conversation with them, the individual letters themselves are actually within the size requirement, but because of the way the ordinance reads, corner to corner, it would be that 35 square feet number referenced. But otherwise, yes, the materials, the location, the illumination as a non-illuminated, all of that would be permitted by right. It's just the size is larger than permitted in a residential district.
There's already signage there? It's just a bigger letters?
So there isn't any signage there, but the city is kind of aware that they have put it up.
It's already out. It's one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Let's boot them to next month.
Since
Yeah,
they're
it
not
is
here.
currently up, non-permitted, but
Isn't that our
again,
unofficial policy? If you don't show up, we boot you to the next month?
At least it's not a banner. I'm just kidding. Okay. And where is this exactly?
I can, you can almost actually see it from here, but it's right down, if you look that way on the street up there, but it's on North High, straight up
Oh, okay.
the corner of Belmar. There's kind of an empty lot in front of it, so it's empty lot, hillside, and then the structure
Right.
there.
Okay.
Would you say this probably approximately matches the sizing, the size of lettering that's on other fraternities and sororities?
At least according to the applicant, the staff didn't go and do
Sure.
any intensive review, but
Yeah.
it seemed in conversation it was pretty standard sized for a fraternity sorority house in a building of that size comparatively. As seen, at least in that, that would be where it's located. It really does look just like that. But it's comparable. It's not, noticeably larger than any others or noticeably smaller than any other sororities or fraternities of a comparable size.
Sure.
So technically, it's a fraternity house.
Correct.
Does it, technically, is it a home occupation?
No, so sororities and fraternities are commercial. They're commercial entities, but they're residential. It would be.
But they're not home occupations.
No, this, to the best of my knowledge, this is just a fraternity house where members of that frat would live, but it's
Right.
not like anybody, would live there otherwise, like as a rental or, things to that nature.
Thank you.
I mean, it seems pretty.
It's pretty straightforward. I
Have to do
mean,
public hearing, I guess, yeah.
yeah. To give us a little bit of time to look at the findings of fact. I mean, it's flush on the facade. It's not out of proportion
No.
to the edifice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, okay, so is there any fraternity signage similar to this that would be like grandfathered in under the revised sign regs?
Not that I'm
No, I mean,
aware
not
of.
to be,
Yeah, not that I'm aware of at the address. Even if there was pre-existing non-conforming wall signage there, as soon as it's taken down, it loses it.
It loses that.
Yeah, regardless of the timeline, if you.
I'm
purposefully-
asking about just to provide kind of context to this class of.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with all of the Greek life signage, pre-existing non-conforming. If there is any, I would guess just because of signage in the city. In other commercial uses, a decent amount of it is pre-existing non-conforming when it comes into regards to size or illumination standards. But as far as speaking specifically towards this fraternity, we are unaware.
I mean, this is like a conditional use variance. Because it's like, there's obviously nothing about this property that requires them to have a bigger sign. But it's also, that's where all the other frats are. It's not out of character
Well,
with anything.
Right, that's key, that it's not out of character. Because this is exactly the kind of signage that you would expect for a fraternity house.
Yep.
And they're not on random part of town. It's on campus.
It's residential, but it's, all right. Okay, so we are going to open the public hearing for this case VAR 26-035. Anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case, please do so now. All right, seeing no one, we're going to close the public hearing. Findings of fact. Well, okay, so the second, can you speak to I just noticed this. Can you speak to the character and nature of the Wiles Hill Gateway Overlay District? Can you characterize that?
Could you repeat that?
Well, so, the findings of fact reference under the overlay district category, it references the fact that it falls within the Wiles Hill Gateway Overlay District. So just in terms of evaluating potential
Yeah.
impacts.
Usually, the overlay districts usually have requirements to like height of buildings, special illumination standards, uses, things like that. To the best of my knowledge, I don't believe there would be anything in conflict with that overlay district to the sign already presented.
Right,
to
even
our-
if the overlay district is primarily residential in nature, with
Right,
respect to signage that would be considered allowable.
It's student housing mostly, right?
Yeah, that area is mostly Greek life and other, student housing. Yeah, they're already to the standard of residential signs for business uses in residentially zoned districts. So they're already kind of more to the stricter standard compared to other commercial entities. Because their square footage is based on 0.15 instead of the normal 0.6 or 0.4. because they're in a residential district.
Yeah.
I like this, without the variance, the applicant may be prevented from reasonably identifying the organization occupying the property.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, who could make up?
well,
letters?
but the word reasonably is in there. You know, it's clear that it's not a single-family owner occupied, right? But it's not, if you remove those letters, it wouldn't be necessarily obvious that this was a registered student organization
Sure.
structure.
Sure.
I have this in the second finding of fact, I don't necessarily agree with the proposed work will not introduce a new visual condition. Really? I mean, well, first of all, the letters are already up there.
Sure.
So,
Is this part of what's being like kind of rehauled? Like, wasn't the sign code
Yeah,
sections?
the city's currently working on doing a overhaul of our sign ordinance. It's not obviously been passed or anything yet, but that'll be something that we're looking into. Size of signs, illumination standards in different districts, kind of just a general overhaul. So, yeah, this might not have needed a variance if it was down the road, or it might still have needed a variance. And we're not at
which
that
way they're
stage
going?
yet. Yeah, it's kind of too early in the process of trying to get the overhaul going, but yeah, that is coming because a lot of sign variances do come through the Board of Zoning Appeals.
right. Can you, and then the third finding of fact, the property already contains Greek letter signage. So is that, so that we're clear about, this recently replaced what was previously there?
To the best of my understanding, any signage, Greek signage would be on the other side of the building, not on the back side. To my understanding, this isn't, this is new. Any Greek lettering and stuff would be on like the other part of the building.
I see.
In the front, like your standard, whatever house kind of thing. On this one, it would be on the top right, would be where they would already have some minor lettering, and then they're wanting it on the bottom left part of the building. Shown here.
And it also says the need for a variance arises from how the sign area is calculated for individual Greek letters. There may be like organizational requirements that they're required to be in compliance with.
Sure.
And that's
We
not.
just don't know because they're not
no
here to
one's-
tell us.
No one's here to speak to that. But that's a reasonable, maybe, expectation, that
Yep.
they
I don't
have
think it's
requirements,
unreasonable to-
organizational requirements that they have to answer to. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward.
Move to approve the findings of fact.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Misbell to approve the findings of fact, seconded by Mr. Martin. How do we vote?
Aye.
Aye. And I move to grant the requested variance regarding this, the aerial variance, not for materials, not for illumination, for VAR 26-035, subject to the standard condition.
Second.
So we have a motion, seconded by Mr. Martin, to grant the variance. How do we vote?
Aye.
Aye. For this case, the applicant will receive correspondence from planning. Any determinations, findings rendered by this board can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County. And for the applicant, any work that you undertake during that 30-day appeals window, you do at your sole financial risk. All right, so moving on to the next, we have two, they're separate applications relating to the same case. The first is VAR 26-051, Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network, 1493 University Avenue. Request by Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network for variance relief in compliance with section 1365.04 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding minimum off-street parking, City Tax District 11, Second Ward, Tax Map 26, Parcel 31 in the R2 Single and Two Family Residential District. The other related application for the related case is, it's for a conditional use CON 26-052 Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network, 1493 University Avenue, request by Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network for conditional use in compliance with section 1331.05 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding a halfway house use, City Tax District 11, Second Ward, Tax Map 26, Parcel 31 in the R2 Single and Two Family District.
So for my staff report, I will just kind of combine both of the requests into one for time purposes. So I will read through the variance one first, and then anything that's not kind of repeated, I will read that as well for the conditional use. But otherwise, for VAR 26051, as well as for conditional use 26052, as seen on the screen as well in the packet, is just the location of where this building is positioned. The second image shows a little bit clearer without, the overlay, the radius, and the lot line. So the building with the, dot on it is the building in reference. Something to note with this is that there is a driveway to the left of the building that can have about 4 spaces in it, but otherwise it'll be contained within the structure of the existing building. Found in the packets is the floor plan of the building. The applicant is seeking a variance regarding parking standards for a halfway house in the R2 district. The structure itself is pre-existing, as was stated, and it was previously a fraternity or sorority house use. The property will have rooms for 33 occupants, one of which will be considered an employee for the house. A letter was sent in regarding the conditional use tied to the variance, which can be found attached there, as well as an additional correspondence was sent in after the packet was done. That has been given to the board members and for them to look at, but just to note, there were 2 correspondences, letters sent in regarding this case, which have been provided to the members of the board. In summary, for the variance, the applicant wishes to get a variance regarding 5 parking spaces, as 4 are provided at the property addressed at 1493 University Avenue. And then I will now go to read the conditional use. For conditional use 26052, as previously stated, the address has not changed, the building has not changed. It is still the one in reference with the variance. That conditional use has tied to it the narrative provided by the applicant, as well as the one letter received early enough to go into the packet, and the other one has been provided physically to the board members at this time. The applicant is seeking a conditional use regarding a halfway house in the R2 district. The structure itself, as mentioned, is previously existing. The previous use was a fraternity or sorority house. Occupants are the same. The narrative has been provided within the packets, as well as any letters received regarding the conditional use permit. Refer to the sections of code below, as well as submitted designs. In summary, the applicant wishes to get a conditional use regarding a halfway house at the property addressed at 1493 University Avenue. Please see the attached application to review the findings of fact as listed, as staff have had no comments or modifications to the conditional use or the variance. Planning staff have no objections to the applicant's request for conditional use, same for the variance. If the Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the applicant conditional use approval in accordance to the city's planning and zoning code, the use shall be subject to the following conditions, being our standard condition that if they are to any modifications or changes to the site plan shall be compliant with the city's planning and zoning code, or the applicant shall seek variance relief from the Board of Zoning Appeals. And then that'll conclude staff report.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have a representative for this case?
Yeah, I'm going to be the representative for this case. I'm joining virtually this evening.
All right. Can
Can you
you?
hear me?
Yeah. Well, can you repeat the name and then reference an address for the record?
Sure. My name is Matthew Johnson. My address is 124 Morgan Drive in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Sounds like Adam Scott.
To my knowledge, it's not.
So do you want to just offer us a bird's eye view of what you're proposing here?
Yeah, I'm happy to give you a bird's eye view of what we're proposing and about some of the work that we do. So we're requesting these special use permits and these variances that were mentioned. As was mentioned, this was previously a sorority house that housed 33 women. We're requesting a permit to use this property that housed 33 individuals who are committed to their long-term recovery. We're not new, we're not a new participant in this space. We have been operating since March 1st of 2021 with a vision to create spaces where recovery can take hold in the lives of our residents. We have tremendous stories of lives that have been changed, and we've had a front row seat to miracles. And you likely will hear some of those stories and testimonies from our residents during the public hearing. Rather than tell their stories, I want to use a few minutes to share with you the information about our organization. I think it's helpful if you understand our program and the effort we put into safety and security in order for you to understand kind of the way that we operate. For the past several years, we've worked to run a high-quality organization that emphasizes evidence-based practices. We're certified as a Level 2 recovery residence by the West Virginia Alliance of Recovery Residences. We're fully insured and we're deeply committed to the safety of our residents and the surrounding community. We carefully choose our program participants through an application process and an interview. We do not accept individuals with violent criminal histories or residents who are required to register on the sex offender registry. Each of our houses have living house managers and assistant managers who ensure that residents follow the guidelines and requirements of our program. But we want you to realize that we're not actually a halfway house. The language around halfway houses is pretty antiquated and it's stigmatizing. It seems to focus on a house where individuals are free to run wherever they want to and kind of move in directions that would not be beneficial to the community. We are, and we talk about ourselves actually as a recovery house. Recovery houses focus on the program and work with residents to build lives of recovery. We do that through balancing relationship and responsibility. Our residents are required to work full-time or be pursuing education. Our residents pay fees as they're learning to how to manage their money and prepare for lives of independent living. Our residents attend 5 NA or AA meetings each week that have sponsors to support them. Our residents are randomly drug tested and are required to live by certain covenants and agreements which we can provide to you. They have a curfew and are expected to be home by 9 p.m. We're deeply committed to creating spaces that incorporates structure and support. I've often been asked if we receive pushback from the local community about our work running a recovery house. My normal response is this: I would be glad to live next to a recovery house. If you live next to a recovery house, you know that your neighbors are drug tested and supported. You can't guarantee that in any other way. We also bring significant economic impact and value to the community. The Fletcher Group is a federally recognized Center of Excellence in Recovery, and their research says that in West Virginia, one person in recovery saves the state $75,000 a year. We've recently completed a financial impact calculator, and our organization provides over $55 of value to the community for every dollar we spend. This comes from reduced criminal justice costs, reduced healthcare costs, increased productivity, and the statistical value of human life. Using these numbers, this property would provide over $1.5 million a year in economic impact to our community with zero tax dollars or implications. The work that we do is deeply needed. I serve on the Recovery Housing Subcommittee for the Governor's Advisory Council on Substance Use Disorder, and I can confirm that recovery housing continues to be identified as one of the top needs in our state. We will share that our waiting list for our program is well over 70 people at all times. This is one of the main reasons we've identified this property as crucial to our mission. We saw this as a place that had good access to public transportation, which is crucial for our clientele, since our clientele do not, for the most part, have cars or driver's licenses. There's access to employers, and we think that their presence downtown can assist downtown businesses in finding employees, which has been a concern. The property is located close to AA and NA meetings, with meetings in surrounding churches. We have numerous students who work for WVU and are enrolled in classes. The location is perfectly aligned with our mission. Admittedly, WVU has submitted a letter of concern regarding our desire to place recovery housing near the campus. While I applaud and appreciate the university's commitment to student flourishing as it benefits WVU, Morgantown, and our state, I too am committed to human flourishing and believe that establishing recovery housing in this area actually does that. While we will not guarantee safety, we believe the best predictor of what will happen is what has occurred. In our years of existence, we have not had issues that put the safety of the local community at risk. Numerous members of the community, including administrators at WVU, have asked whether we believe locating a recovery house in this area of town is wise with the bars and the downtown scene. We actually believe that having a recovery house populated with sober individuals who are committed to the recovery would greatly benefit the downtown region. We want to make sure that you understand what healthy recovery housing looks like. Our goal is always to develop good relationships with our neighbors, whether that's St. John's or the Lutheran Campus Ministry or our state's land-grant institution, which seeks to serve all West Virginians, including our residents. Thank you for this opportunity to share about our work. I look forward to addressing any other questions or concerns you might have.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for him at this time?
He answered all of them, so.
Actually, I would, can you speak a little more or address exactly why you think this specific citing what you're proposing in this particular spot is well suited both to the Morgantown community and also with regard to what you hope to be a success in terms of your organization's overall mission? Why right here?
Absolutely. So when we look for properties for our work, we look for places that have a couple things. We look for places that have access to public transportation. We look for places that are located in neighborhoods where our clients are safe. We look for places that have access to employment, education, and appropriate resources for our residents. When we look at the resources located in this part of town, we could not find a place that had better access to those things. There are regular AA and NA meetings in those downtown churches. There are opportunities for employment and education. There are opportunities to access transit so that our residents can get to the places they need to go and do so effectively and safely. So we think from our perspective for our residents that is a really positive space for us to be. I don't think that our residents offer any harm to the community. And in fact, I think that the opportunity to partner with some of the downtown businesses and downtown community members could benefit the downtown community and could benefit our residents. I think that there's always benefits in collaboration. I think this property allows that to become more of a reality.
All right, well, with respect to those downtown business interests, leaders, have you done any outreach in terms of like putting your toe in the water, so to speak, to find out to what extent what you're proposing is a good fit, whether it's a good fit with respect to what you're proposing?
We have met with our neighbors, with our direct neighbors at the house, that are next to who would be next to the house. That's what we've done.
You've met, okay.
With our neighbors who are directly located by the house.
Can you speak to the tenor of the response from those you've reached out to? Are you at liberty to speak to that or no?
You know what? I think I'm going to let them speak to that during the public statements if they wish.
Right. All right. Thank you.
It states that congestion won't be increased because our residents don't drive, possess driver's license, or own personal vehicles. Is that a condition to be a resident there?
No, it's not. That's not a condition, but it is the reality for most of our residents.
But not necessarily so.
I've been doing this for many years, and at our current location, we've never had more than 3 cars.
And and none of them have had driver's licenses?
Residents have state IDs, but often residents do not have driver's licenses.
What about, in terms of the vehicular impact and the parking impact? Can you speak to visitors to your residence in terms of, you know, I mean, there is parking downtown, but sometimes that parking is hard to come by.
Well, not that.
And ideally, I would think that anyone wanting to visit your residence would want to, you know, park on site. Can you speak to like anticipated volume of, and whether what you have with regard to available parking is going to meet that
Yes.
volume, the need
If
for
so-
that volume?
If someone wanted to come visit our residence and visit one of our residents that lives there,
Right.
they would need to park in one of the public parking spaces that are located downtown.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of people that are coming to visit. We have pretty strict hours around visitation. We have pretty strict hours around places in our properties where visits can occur, where visits can happen. And so for most of the time on our properties, the people on our property are the people the residents that live there.
Right.
Is this resident to live-in staff ratio consistent with your other recovery
So one of the things
houses?
that- Yeah, we'll have, at this property, we'll have a house manager, and then we'll have an assistant manager that is located on every floor of the property. And that would be consistent with the numbers across all of our properties.
So that's at least 5, right?
It would be.
Staff.
It would be 3. There's 3 floors
Living.
of living space.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so that, you have to meet a certain ratio of staff to residents, right? There are rules that you need to be in compliance with in terms of the ratios?
To be certified, is that what you mean?
Yeah, in terms of certification or just generally
No,
speaking?
there's, the certification standards in the state of West Virginia, for the level that we're certified, would require us to have one house manager who stays on the property, no matter, regardless of the size of the property. We are going above and beyond that to provide support to our residents and to provide support to the community.
Because I think correct me if I'm wrong, we did hear 33 residents, right?
There'll be about 30 residents, yes.
Okay. Seems like a low ratio to me. Okay, thank you. Do you have any?
Are there other questions, or is that all?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything to add, Mr. Thompson?
The adjustment of kind of 3 employees to 30 occupants would need to be added to their parking, as it's calculated as 1 space per 4 beds and then 1 space per employee. So it kind of shifts the numbers around a little bit, and then I will tell you
So,
what that
yeah, what
was.
is that? What is the,
Just to clarify, we have 1 staff person, and then we have peer leaders.
So they're not
Assistant
employees.
managers who would be.
Okay.
Those folks are not employees.
They're like
Those
captives.
folks are peer mentors who
Right.
work on those floors.
Okay,
Those
that-
are actually staff.
Then never mind, that would not change, because it is specifically per employee.
Per employee.
So that manager, the main one, yes, that definitely counts, but if they're just other occupants, other residents, that are slightly more but unpaid, not employed, then,
but that's still, you know, taking into account the living levels, the residential levels, that's still 3, a minimum of 3. And then in terms of the air, I mean, all right, most of the residents don't drive, but this is a relatively large structure. So the potential for parking is there. Can you speak to what the aerial space requirements are bearing on parking requirements?
like
For
if
the
they were.
area?
Let me pull up the PowerPoint just to clarify, to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking. On that view there, you're asking to add parking, to move parking, would that be plausible at this location? or?
No, what I'm asking is with regard to the area of the building, regardless of whether it's residential or non-residential space, there's still the potential for functional use of those other levels. So given the area of the building, what's the minimum?
So,
Required parking.
minimum parking requirements are based on use.
that's
Sometimes
fine.
sometimes that includes square footage of the building and the floors of the building. Sometimes it doesn't. For a halfway house, which is at least based on previous conversation with the applicant, what they were determined as, it would be 1 space per 4 beds and then 1 space per employee. And based on our ordinance for halfway houses, there isn't any square footage requirement for the building. If they were a different use, maybe that would affect them, but at least as far as a halfway house is concerned, it is 1 space per 4 beds and 1 space per employee with no consideration for the square footage.
So what was required when it was a sorority for parking?
So if this was a new sorority before, based on 33 people, would be 1 space per 3 persons based upon building occupancy, which would put them at 11 parking spaces total that they would need.
But it was a
and that's rounding
pre-existing.
up.
Pre-existing non-conforming use. Yeah, if a new sorority wanted to go in after, like if it was like a new build or a new project, they would need 11 spaces for 33 people, whereas the halfway house needs 9.
But there's nowhere to put parking there.
Right, based on the existing, for if a new sorority were to be going and not be pre-existing, they would still need to make up the 11, or the 7 spaces that the 4 on-site don't already cover. And then,
I mean, that to me is a no-brainer. If the conditional use is okay, then yeah, they should get the variance for the parking.
that would be up to the board.
Right, but that's, I mean, the conditional use comes first. It's the necessary prerequisite.
So can you just state one more time, what's the available parking?
4.
Just 4?
Yep.
I mean, I think what's going, like, with the conditional use, you look at the findings of fact and the questions, the elements that we're supposed to review. I mean, these are all really about, how much this use is gonna impact resources to the actual property. It's really not about the type of use very much. The questions aren't really
The
concerned with
question
that.
is, what's the impact to
Yes.
the?
Now, this is a halfway house, so like a lot of what we're talking about here is is policy, basically. Whether it's good or a bad idea to have this here. But our questions here for a conditional use permit really aren't about policy. I mean, that's not really what we're supposed to be doing, right? So to me, the question, I was concerned about congestion just based on, because you're gonna have 30 adults, not just students who
Right.
are less likely to have vehicles, but apparently almost none of them would have vehicles or even a license. So I'm not that concerned there. Safety, fire panic. How big was the sorority there before? How many occupants were there?
Based on, speaking with the applicant, the 33 seems reasonable, but the city doesn't have like a confirmed head count for the number of active people that were in the sorority in that house. Based on the plans that they've shown, it could hold 33, at least for planning purposes. But if that was how many people actually lived there previously when it was a sorority, we don't have that information.
Yeah. And I mean, look at the
I'll
other.
I'll just add really briefly that the house comes fully furnished, and it comes fully furnished with 33 beds and 33 bedrooms. So that's why we believe that there were 33 residents living there, because that's the number of beds and bedrooms that the property comes with.
Here's one I would like you to address maybe. So one of the findings of fact questions are granting this request will not create inadequate provision of transportation, water, sewage, schools, parks, or other public requirements. I mean, I understand why you want to put this facility there. It is a perfect place for these people because they have access to downtown, public services, meetings, everything that you said. But this is like smack dab in campus.
Right.
So, I mean, I could see people arguing that a school or student-related use would be better suited there. And obviously,
It would be more
like
consistent.
property on campus is already, a rare commodity. So maybe you could speak to that. I mean, if WVU didn't like this, why didn't they buy it? How did they not buy
Well,
this?
and I think that's what I would say is the property was in the market for a year before we purchased it. So there were opportunities for folks to, before we entered the purchase agreement. So there are opportunities for folks to purchase it if they wanted to use it for other reasons. When it comes to school, we have residents who are students at WVU, and so residents who are part of that campus community. We have housed residents who are students at WVU because they needed a safe and secure place to live, and we could provide that while they're here in our community. We've done that on numerous occasions. And so I actually don't see that as a negative with this process. I don't see it as taking away from that. I see it as benefiting the campus community as a whole. I'm sure there are others who disagree with me, but that's the way that I see it.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Right. All right, we're going to go ahead and, anything else to add, Mr. Thompson? Thank you, sir.
Nope.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for this, for the first part. Well, do we want to?
I think we should start with the conditional use.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
Because if they don't
say.
get that, then the.
Is there a
parking
reason,
moot.
yeah, actually, Mr. Tom, is there a reason why you listed the variance?
It
The
was just
off-street
numerical
parking?
order, 51 to 52, but you can read them and have them heard in a combined public hearing, or you could have the public hearing for the conditional use be first, and then go into the variance.
I think we'll
It's up to you guys.
do separate public hearings. Or we can we elect to combine
Yeah,
Just combine and then.
after,
vote separately.
depending upon how for the first conditional use public hearing goes? We could do that, right?
We definitely should combine.
I mean, we can.
right, yeah, the board
We
can
can make a
just,
motion we can treat the findings of fact separately with separate motions.
yes, you will 100%
Of
have
course.
to vote and either accept or deny the findings of fact and then the variance and conditional use as two separate entities, but if you would like to combine the public hearing into one, you're more than welcome to just say, we're going to combine the conditional use number and then variance number into one public hearing for the purposes of this
Okay.
meeting.
Well, just initially, we're now going to open the public hearing for CON 26-052 Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network, 1493 University Avenue. So this first public hearing is for the conditional use application. So anyone wishing to speak in support or in opposition to, please do so now.
Good evening. My name is Father Brian Cronwelch. I'm the pastor of St. John University Parish. If you look at the building, we are the building directly to the left of the former sorority house. St. John's has had that property since 1925, and on the weekend we hold 5 masses and we get 700 people. We are a campus parish, but we also are comprised of families with young children. Just to go back, the sorority, when they were there, the way that they had their parking is they actually rented from our parking lot. That's our parking lot in the bottom corner there. So they were able to get the parking spots that they needed. But like I said, we have 3 buildings on property. The very next building down is the Newman Center, which is a community center for students. It is,
Actually, before you, with regard to the parking, does that, and thank you for your lease agreement with the applicant, does that impact the operation of your parish with respect to your masses or no?
they were only allowed to park during certain times because on masses, we need the spaces.
Right.
But we rent those out. It's a source of income for the parish, so that no one can just park there randomly.
Right. Thank you, sorry.
Yep, no problem. So the Newman Center is right next door to the church, and that's the community center, and that's also where I live. But it's a community center for students. They have access to it 24/7, and it is a means for them to relax, to study. We have a library there, and also just, to have fun. We have meetings there. We have events 7 days a week, and every night. And then, so they're constantly students there, and I'm glad that they're there because they're not at the bars. If you directly across catty corner from us, the building from the church, it's kind of cut off at the bottom, but it's Ivy, the nightclub. And so I actually sleep only because I have a white noise machine, because it is so loud. Every Saturday morning, I have to do a check around the property to clean up throw up, syringes, all sorts of paraphernalia, to make sure that it's a safe space for the students. I want them to be able to spend time with their friendships in a safe space. I completely support the mission of any recovery house. We host NA meetings, we've hosted SA meetings, AA meetings, and actually the diocese runs Catholics in Recovery. So this has nothing to do with the great mission and the great effect it has on those who live at these houses, nothing to do. It's more from this perspective of prudence, and as we say in Catholicism, the near occasion of sin. We have lots of young women who walk back and forth, and I know this because during the day, but also at nighttime, I have a dog. I walk my dog, and right by their property, and if any of you live downtown, our college students are finding themselves, and they are not dressed hardly at all. And so as a celibate man, I see that, right? And I see the source of temptation could be from men who are in recovery from all sorts of backgrounds. They may not be outside because of curfew, but they sure have windows. And I understand that could be a great temptation. I also want our students to feel safe at all times, that they can be in the church by themselves, that they can also be in the Newman Center, because again, they have access to that, and anyone can walk into that Newman Center. And so from a sense of prudence, I think that the location being right there next to the church, but also on the campus, I don't know if it's the best. I do not believe it to be the best location. I think another place in the city would be wonderful.
Do you feel like if the recovery house was to operate in this space, would it impact the attendance at the Newman Center? Would you think it would decrease the students that attend?
I think that we'd see what the culture would be like, and it definitely could, especially at nighttime or in the early morning when the guys are off to work. The kids lay out on our lawns. They read out there. We have a bonfire pit out there, and we're exactly adjacent to them. So we're, on a Sunday morning, every single spot on that street is completely filled up, including our parking lot. In fact, we have a safety man who has to stand out in the street because of all the children running around. So again, it's what we have to promote, a safe place, but also, I recognize people come from all different backgrounds and different experiences and different morals. But we want our children and our college students to know that this is a place that they can always come to and feel safe at.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good points. Okay. Anyone else, or next? By all means. And again,
Good evening. My name is Brandon Meyer. I'm a parishioner of St. John's. I've been there for about 4 years. I bring my family there. I've been involved with the community. I'm also on the Finance Council as well. One thing I wanted to clarify, it seemed like your question understood that there was a lease agreement in place for the parking you said, I believe, with the applicant, there is no lease agreement in place between St. John's and the applicant. Very clearly. So let me be very clear about that. There is no lease agreement. There's a couple of other things as well. I was reading through the application, and one of the things that are in there, these are individuals that are in early recovery or trauma, to be in a trauma-informed residential environment. The concern is the young women that we have, the Newman Group, seeing the number of individuals, the women that are constantly out there, that there could potentially be at risk. We realize, can't say for sure, we don't know, and the mission is fine. It's the location that's the issue. Being right in the heart of campus, right in the middle, you have two churches on each side.
Yeah, right.
It's very, very concerning. It's concerning to myself as a parishioner.
Right.
My ability to go to St. John's or to go to another Catholic church, it could impact
Right.
us going somewhere else if kids, children, females don't feel safe.
Right.
One of the other things that came up as well was attempts to buy the property. I wanted to put it clear on behalf of St. John's, there was an attempt by St. John's to buy the property. They've been interested in this property for a long time. It would serve as a Catholic dorm, and that is something that, in terms of offers, we've actually already had the property inspected. We were getting a general contractor in there to go through the issues. Quite honestly, Abundant Life just beat us to the punch in terms of making an offer that was accepted. We had been in contact with the realtors. We even reached out to the Candidate Foundation here at the university as far as funding, and then also the diocese as well. The problem is that getting the funding approval from the diocese doesn't happen like that.
Right.
Somebody that's an NGO or a private group, they can get funding, they have that ability to do that. We don't. We have to go through a number of steps. We have to have a pro forma, and we were not able to get that in time to essentially to beat them to the punch. So there's very much has been a lot of interest from St. John's. We've written letters to the diocese, and we have the support, generally of the bishop. They need to get some additional plans. That's why we went ahead and paid for an inspection. We took it that far, and then also having a general contractor who was actually in there to evaluate all those issues. So it's very real. St. John's is very committed to wanting to purchase this property. So, from my perspective is being on council, we're opposed.
Right.
I want that to be clear. It's not something that we're in agreement, in terms of the parking, in terms of the conditional use. I don't think it meets the general character of the lay of the land. There's two churches, the surrounding community. We have the Newman House. I mean, St. John's basically has that whole block. They have the corner block. They have the Newman Center. They have the parish hall. They have the church, and then there's the Lutheran church right next to it.
Right.
And it is a vibrant Catholic community.
Yeah.
Just students all the time. This is not a church that just sits back and there's few people. It is packed.
Right.
It is standing room only on Sunday masses, pretty much all masses. So having this type of halfway house right next to it is very concerning, for all of this.
Right.
You're going to hear from other parishioners that feel the same way. But
Well,
I
you
wanted to be.
anticipated, that was my next question.
Oh,
Did you poll your parishioners, they're not resident there.
Correct.
They attend your parish though, and
That's
they
correct.
help to make up your parish community, so they have an interest in
Right.
how the nature of that parish community is affected by,
That's correct.
Changes.
You'll see outside mass, the families congregate. They do. Throughout many events that they have. There are numerous university events. That's not even talking about that's just parish life. That's not the college students. It's a vibrant parish community with young families.
right?
We have families with 8 kids, with 7 kids, with 6 kids, all little, all out there. So it's a safety concern. We don't think it fits within the community in that area for the use that's been occurring. That's all I would add.
All right, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Louise Deal. I was born and raised in Morgantown, as was my mother. I graduated from WVU. I care deeply about this town and the university that's an integral part, and I'm a parishioner at St. John University Parish. I'm very concerned about this proposed use of the former sorority house for the following reasons. I read the whole proposal, I read the whole packet, including the letter by WVU President Benson, and I agree that this proposed location, essentially on the main downtown WVU campus and our church campus, it's going to negatively impact the perception of safety in the eyes of parents and students. And many unforeseen issues could develop that will have a negative impact on both WVU, our church, the downtown area, in a highly visible spot. And you mentioned like the late at night. We also have this chapel that's open till 10 o'clock at night for like quiet prayer above the Newman. And people are going in and out of there by themselves a lot late at night. So I just think it's impossible to ensure, the safety and orderliness and all of that. I'm sure especially with those high numbers of residents, I do think it's a very unwise location for persons in recovery with walking access to many places that sell the very substances which they must avoid. And so for all those reasons, and also I was going to mention the parking, but we're not supposed to talk about that right now. But so for all those reasons, I hope you'll greatly consider my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are we still speaking on parking or like the other parking?
This is the conditional use case, that part of the application.
I suppose I want to speak in support of this recovery house. I think particularly from an ethics perspective. While not a member of the Catholic Church, sort of float between the Methodist, Episcopal, and Catholic traditions. And the goal, I think, of this recovery house is in alignment with Catholic social teaching. And to hear people who I share faith with universally wanting to, in some ways, stand against what the ethic of the gospel is in terms of providing recovery, providing space for people, is reprehensible to me. And I think that Matt has addressed several of the concerns with regards to safety, with regards to attendance, with regards to no one of violent criminal history or sexual abuse, sexual offense being allowed on this campus. And while these people may be in proximity to a lot of the problems that they've experienced, they're also in proximity to Wesley United Methodist Church, Trinity Episcopal Church, St. John's Parish itself, where they may find that space to be able to continue in that recovery, and if they are practicing a faith, to be able to grow in it. And I think just from the ethical and safety side, I think that those people will be able to find that space, and that I hope that would weigh in your consideration as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Real quick, could you, for the record, provide your name and reference
name
address?
and address.
Yes, Torley Bush, and my address is 144 Ohio Avenue in Westover.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I had a question for the applicant, quick. Are there certain lease terms or lengths of stays for typical residents? How long are they allowed to stay there?
Yeah. We adhere to a resident-driven length of stay. We encourage residents to stay up to 2 years or longer. We've had residents stay longer. They have to continue to abide by all of the program requirements, including their curfew, which which I'll mention just as a reminder, it's a 9 p.m. curfew. We have to be in the house by 9 p.m. They have to continue to abide by all the standards that are required, but they can stay for a long time and become, examples and leaders in that house and the recovery community. So part of the reason that we want long-term residents is because it provides stability, and it's also the best thing for residents. The longer that residents stay in a recovery house, data says that they become much more successful moving forward. So that's why we encourage that length of stay.
Hello, my name is Anthony Stankiewicz. I am the house manager at Abundant Life
Address?
Recovery
Could you
Network.
just state a reference address?
8 Millen Street, number 101, Westover, West Virginia. 5 years, when you're in the thick of early recovery, 5 years feels like an absolute lifetime. Feels like an impossible mountain to climb. But standing here today, looking back at my journey with Abundant Life Housing Recovery Network, I don't just see time passed, I see a life entirely transformed. Five years ago, this place welcomed me. Today, I want to talk about what happened during those 5 years, how this community shaped my foundation of my recovery, and how it gave me the strength to step into the leader I am today. Recovery is never a solo journey. When I first came to Abundant Life, I needed more than just a roof over my head. I needed a blueprint for a new life. This network provided the structure, the safety, the unwavering support, and allowed me to heal. It was here that I learned true vulnerability is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. Accountability is not punishment. It is a boundary that keeps us safe. And community is the ultimate medicine for isolation. The support I received here just didn't keep me clean. It taught me how to live. It planted the seeds of wellness and positivity that I carry with me every single day. Yeah, and I'm in support of this.
Thank you.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
you're the residential manager
Yep.
at
Yeah,
one of
the
these
house
houses in
manager.
Westover?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how long has it been there?
5 years.
5 years. Have you been there 5 years?
I've been there 5 years.
Okay, so a lot of people here have expressed concerns about safety, right? Or at least perceptions of safety.
Yeah.
So how often are the Westover cops over there?
I've only, I think it was just like for EMS twice. And that was just somebody having a seizure because they're epileptic.
Is there any other abundant houses in the Morgantown area?
No, just this
So
one.
just this other one?
Oh, there's a women's house, a block away.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Westover, your Westover location, that's also primarily R1 or R2 in terms of where it's sited. Can you speak to how, I guess compare and contrast the Westover, your Westover location with what's proposed here?
He's
I would
wondering how
think
that's zoned over there.
they'd completely, there probably are some similarities, but I think this is a special case.
Yeah.
Can you speak to
There
that?
There would be more, so
'Cause
we
Westover
go
is
down
not-
here downtown anyway to the NA meetings and AA meetings.
Okay.
And a lot of people work down here anyway.
Right.
So it would be a way closer space for residents to keep their employment and have access to easy transportation and to be easily accessible to these NA and AA meetings.
Yeah, so do most of how many people are at your house?
14.
Okay,
About
do
half.
most of them do any of them have a car? I mean, with that location, they probably aren't, must be on the bus line or something.
Yeah, there's like 2.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Danny Ludwig, and my address is 326 Brockway Avenue. I'm someone in long-term recovery. I came to Morgantown in 2017 because of a sober living home. The house gave me structure, accountability, and the foundation I needed to rebuild my life. Without it, I don't know where I'd be today. Today, I'm a mother. Because of my recovery, my child has a stable home, a present parent, a future that once seemed impossible. I'm a downtown business owner. I work for a local nonprofit, and I Uber part-time. My family's quality of life exists because recovery was made possible, not because someone pushed it away, but because someone opened the door. I'm also active in our recovery community and have had the privilege of speaking in this very room many times. I've seen firsthand what recovery housing does. It doesn't create addiction, it creates recovery. I understand that people want safe neighborhoods. I want that too. But sober living homes are not places where people go to use drugs. They are places where people go to stay sober, hold jobs, rebuild relationships, and become productive members of society. I also find it important to point out that 2 of the churches near this proposed home already open their doors every week to host a recovery fellowship meeting. The very people who would live in this home are the same people who would likely attend those meetings. If we are welcoming people in recovery for an hour inside of our churches, we should be able to be willing to support them as they rebuild their lives in our community. I've also heard concerns about this home being near WVU, yet there are thousands of students, many of whom consume alcohol. Alcohol is a mind-altering substance. We shouldn't judge people who are actively working to overcome addiction more harshly than those whose substance use is often accepted as part of a college culture. West Virginia is still in the midst of an addiction crisis. Drugs are already here. Recovery housing is part of the solution. We don't need fewer sober living homes. We need more opportunities for people to rebuild their lives. I stand before you today as proof that recovery works. My family is proof, my teenagers are proof. Someone gave me a chance years ago, and today I'm asking you to give the same chance to someone else. Also, just so the room knows, we already have a sober living downtown. Let me also share again that Matt stated no violent crime offenders are accepted at their home, and on top of that, this is a faith-based home. Thank you. We do recover, and united we stand.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wood. I live at 43 Lane Street in Westover at Abundant Life Women's Home. I am a Charleston native, but I have had the privilege of receiving an excellent education at George Washington High School. I went to CPYB, which is a boarding school for ballet, which produces dancers of New York City Ballet, Boston Ballet, Stuttgart Ballet in Germany, San Francisco Ballet, Pacific Northwest Ballet in Seattle, just to name a few. And finally, I went to Point Park University, where I was accepted into the Conservatory of Performing Arts on a scholarship of only 3% students receive. I'm sharing this critically, that the Abundant Life facility, I'm writing to share how critical the Abundant Life facility has been to my journey. Addiction is a disease that affects individuals across all societal classes. Abundant Life has provided me with a safe haven and vital structure, including housing, curfew, access to NA, access to AA, and which is necessary to foster my long-term recovery and a healthy environment, as well as safe as a woman. According to data from the American Addiction Center's sober living homes provide essential long-term support for individuals who have completed inpatient rehabilitation. Unlike halfway houses, they typically do not require past incarcerations or mandatory enrollment in active treatment programs, allowing residents to focus on peer support and 12-step programs. Without these embedded in our community, individuals facing addiction risk being cast aside. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. When help is needed, facilities like this are paramount for successful reentry into society. As a retired ballerina and a woman in recovery, my personal goal is to become a licensed dance movement therapist specializing in recovery. I feel this is my calling to continue serving those who need it most, that were there when I needed it the most. I urge you to recognize the immense value of these programs in our community. So I'm obviously for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Armentrout. My address is 12 Tanglewood Lane, Pleasant Valley, West Virginia. I'm here this evening in technically two capacities, I guess you could say. One, I'm a board member of Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network, and then I also am a passionate WVU alumna. I attend many events on campus as an alumnus. I can tell you over my time as a student at WVU, I saw the need for this 15 years ago, and we didn't want to talk about it because the epidemic had not become as prevalent as it is now, both with drugs and with alcohol and use on campuses. I am from Southern West Virginia originally, and my father was an alcoholic my entire life. He was a phenomenal man and held a professional job. However, he lost that job and went through 6 rounds of failed rehab. He passed in 2020. My dad didn't have the chance to experience recovery housing because he didn't have a network that wasn't a halfway house. That is unfortunately what he, and there are halfway houses that work. They absolutely do. But that is not what we are. I would like to also address this access to drugs and alcohol and young women. If an addict is going to relapse, they are going to do it. I watched my father leave the house in a taxi that he could not afford to get alcohol 17 miles away from town. It will happen. So these folks that are here that we're representing, and they're representing themselves, they are accountable for their sobriety. Downtown Morgantown is not accountable for their sobriety. And then lastly, I would just say, in the letter from President Benson and the university that was really hard to read as an alumna, especially from the part of the state that I'm from, because folks come from that area, from drug-riddled communities, looking for a safe haven, and we're telling them as a university that those folks don't belong just because it may be a little too close for comfort. I can also say that though my dad was an alcoholic, I never felt unsafe around him. And I understand that there are times when those things do alter people's personalities and there are unsafe circumstances. But I think we need to look at this as a holistic approach and not because someone has used in the past that they're going to be a violent person or that someone may feel unsafe in their presence.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Rice, and I live at 43 Lane Street, Morgantown, West Virginia. I have lived at Abundant Life Recovery House for 4 years, as a resident for 2 years, and as a house manager for 2 years. And I must say that in that time, my life has become a life that I never thought was possible. It's not just been a home, but it's become a family as well. I have been in long-term recovery for 5 years from substance use disorder, which consumed my life for 27 years. Active addiction was miserable, lonely, and insane, but I stayed stuck in it for so long that a better life seemed impossible. Eventually, I overdosed, which thank God I survived, and was the last time that I've used a drug. After that, I went into treatment, first for detox, then for 28 days, then a 6-month long-term treatment. I was one of the fortunate addicts that recovered, but I also know even then that I wasn't ready to live alone and that I needed more support. I investigated in sober living and was blessed to be accepted into Abundant Life, which has become a critical part of my journey. I needed a safe space where I could live and heal from the years of drug abuse that I survived. I wasn't ready to be alone yet, and every day I'm fortunately surrounded by like-minded people who are also recovering and trying to find their way in the world. Abundant Life has allowed me to grow and focus not only on my recovery, but also has helped me discover a career in helping others find recovery. I have become a peer recovery support specialist and gained employment at Valley Healthcare and the New Beginnings Recovery Center for Women. I have also gone back to school, and I'm currently working on a master's degree in social work so that I can continue to help others escape from active addiction and learn how to live. Today, my life is amazing, and I owe so much of that to Abundant Life Recovery House and the network of people who are involved with making this great place possible for many people who have found their way in this program. I cannot say enough to thank Abundant Life for not only being my home for the past 4 years, but also allowing me a safe place to discover who I really am and what I can contribute to the world. I will be forever grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Larry Buckland, 1466 Lakeland Avenue. I'm the pastor at Suncrest United Methodist Church, and I wish there was a place next to Suncrest for there to be a house for Abundant Life. We're grateful that we have partners. We have many members from our congregation that are here in support. No, we're not downtown, so we can't speak to the context of others right now that are, have some fear against. But what I want you to know is through our partnerships, we often have residents that come to the church and do work with us. And we also do some talking about opportunities for work. We have many folks that, including myself, that have picked up residents and taken them to work. These folks are working. And also, I want you to know that the tolerance level for when there's not a tolerance level. So when they make that mistake, unfortunately, they're not there. They're not allowed to be back in the house. And so those are things that I think that are very important for you to know, that the curfew and others, and as others have talked, when we're around town and even there on the Suncrest campus, there are folks that come in around the town that are there, around that are using. And I have a cousin that was a WVU student, went to pharmacy school, became an addict. I sure wish he would have gone to a recovery house. My cousin died as an addict. My cousin, when I was 10 years old and he was 16, he was my hero, and he was a smart, intelligent man. There's a passage, I'm not here to do a sermon or anything, but from Romans 12, and it says, I do what I don't want to do. I do that too. Make mistakes all the time. My addictions are different, mostly food. But when you realize that, and caffeine, but when you realize that, and you realize that if I need help with some of those things that have needed coaching, this is an opportunity for our community to rise above and to be able to see people say in a university setting that there is hope for them and an opportunity for them to be educated and to grow. And we have seen clients from Abundant Life, residents that have been in our church, and we have celebrated them as a congregation, not said, what are they doing here? So I hope we can see all the people as that I believe a higher power sees all, as all children of God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matt Vester, and I live at 603 Park Street in Morgantown, and I'm a parishioner at St. John's. And I'd like to say that I'm really encouraged by the testimony that I've heard tonight from people who have lived or are living in recovery centers. And I don't think there's a person in this room who's opposed to recovery centers or who fails to see their value. To me, the question before the panel is this the best location for this recovery center? And I understand that there's some of the attractive qualities of this location is that it's close to public transportation and it's close to meeting spaces. But I think there are a lot of places in Morgantown that are in proximity to public transportation. And the testimony of the people here tonight indicates that they've been able to reach meeting places for recovery meetings. So I would encourage the zoning board perhaps to investigate what the research says about best locations for recovery centers. I assume that there are studies about that. I would also assume that like maybe a stable residential neighborhood might be preferable to a neighborhood that's really adjacent to probably one of the highest concentrations in this state of consumption of controlled substances. And I understand that individuals are responsible for the choices that they make, but I think that we also have a responsibility to think reasonably about locations that would be more or less conducive to people who want to live in recovery centers. And so I would encourage the board to maybe look at that kind of research too as you deliberate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, My name is Sarah Loudon, and I have been at Abundant Life for, since December 26th of last year. I just want to talk about the structure and what that has done for me. So when I moved in, didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself, with my life, and I found my way into a program called West Virginia Women Works, and I graduated there early, and now I am a construction worker for heavy highway construction, and I'm a part of the East Atlantic Carpenters Union. Due to the structure that Abundant Life has given me, it has extremely helped with my routine and daily life. Yeah, that's all I got to say. They've been extremely helpful, and I wanted to put my 2 cents in, so, but thank you.
I have a couple questions if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Do you know, so you're at the women's house with Abundant Life? Do you know
Yeah.
roughly how many women are in that home?
7.
So 7 at your house, 14 at the current men's home. If there were 14 women or 25 or 30 women in your home, would you say that that would change your experience at all in a negative or a positive way?
I think each person's recovery is individual.
Yeah.
And when someone goes into sober living, it's about them. They need to focus on themselves. So no, I don't think that would make an impact.
It's what they make of it, basically.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yes.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
That
Thank
it?
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
How long have the women's homes been there?
Do what?
Sorry.
Sorry.
How long have the women's homes been in operating?
The women's home, for 5 years, I think. Yeah.
About the same time? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay, is that it?
We'll leave it alone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello?
Larissa Thomas, and I stay at 43 Lane Street at the Women's House as well. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I just want to listen. I was listening at first, and I got a little overwhelmed because this is something I'm very passionate about. And there's the stigma on addicts and recovering addicts it's overwhelming. We're judged basely on our past behaviors and the things we've used to indulge in and not what we're moving forward to do. Trying to reacclimate into society. And it's really hard when society's not trying to accept us back into that society. It's how are we supposed to learn how to live with others when we can't be accepted into other communities? Eventually, when we're not in a sober living, we might have to live by a college. Or eventually, when we don't live in sober living, we'll have to live by a church. These are our realities. We can't avoid living away from downtown or our life, or a liquor store, or a vape store that sells K2 or whatever substance they decide to sell. This is reality. We can't avoid these things. So it's hard to hear when people say they support our change, but in all actuality, they support us being away from what they feel like would keep whatever their goal is safe. It's not our best interest. Our best interest is to help us recover and to have a successful life, just like everyone else. Everyone has a past, and in order for us to move on from that past, we have to learn from it, and it helps to learn from others that might not have been through that past, and it helps others to learn from us that have been through those things. I believe, like, everybody doesn't have to like everybody, but that doesn't mean you don't have to care about them. That doesn't mean you don't have to help them. That doesn't mean that they're less than. People that aren't addicts don't make them good people. There's bad people just like anybody else. They could have not used a substance in their life, and they could be just as bad. There are people that are addicts that have never committed a crime, that have never hurt anybody or did anything. They just went down the wrong path and got off track and need help. That shouldn't stop them from being able to go to a house that has enough beds for them and be able to better themselves. And I feel I don't, contradictions and just like, it just bothers me. I feel like not being accepted, especially by a place I go to meetings to, and then hearing that they don't want me in the same area as I go to that meeting in, that's very disheartening. And that's I had to leave the building for a second and gather myself because that hurt. That hurt more than anything. And I know it's reality. And that's something I have to deal with every day. And that's what we have to deal with it every day. And it's not fair, but it's reality. And we have something extra we have to deal with. This is not just we got fired from our job or we got in a car accident and it'll be over in a year or a couple months. This is our life every day. And we have to do this every day. We have to defend ourselves every day. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, I had a question quick.
Yes. Yes.
What's the structure of Abundant Life? Is it, someone mentioned being on the board. Is there a board member, or is there a board and then the house employees, or are there additional employees? And then do you operate in other cities as well, or are these two existing houses it?
Abundant Life is a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been a 501c3 nonprofit since 2020. We have a board of directors that is made up of well-respected individuals from our community who are passionate about the work that we do and who support it in a variety of ways. We have an executive director that was hired in November to help us run the organization and grow the organization. As I mentioned in my initial statement, we have 70 people on the waiting list every single day. And so we see a need for opportunities to grow our impact and to grow our footprint across the region. At this point, we don't have additional houses outside of Morgantown. We have our men's house, our women's house that are here in Morgantown. I'm actually out of town currently because I'm working on attending a recovery conference. I work as a kind of a national expert in faith-based recovery and recovery housing, and work across the country to help implement the same model that we put in place in Morgantown. I was hired to help other faith communities do the same kind of thing that we've done in Morgantown because it's exemplary. And so that's kind of our structure overall.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jean Hammersmith. I live at 309 Simpson Street, Morgantown. I have a different perspective than anyone else who's spoken. I live across the street from a recovery house. It's not one of Matt's, but Matt is my advisor. When we knew it was coming, Matt, what should you tell me? And he said, that'll be the safest place in your neighborhood. And he was absolutely right. It has all the accoutrements of safety. Anything that would happen, all the safety people would be there, the fire, the medical. But we haven't had any of those things. All we've had are some really nice young men who are addicted. They're polite. I wouldn't hesitate to ask them to do something for me, and they would be willing to do it in a minute. I work in my yard every morning for an hour or two, so I know them. I'm probably closer to them than anyone else in the community because I reach out to people. It's my nature. But what have I found? I've found men that want to get well. And And I've had substance abuse in my own family. That's why I'm dry. I've never had any urge to ever use substances. But anyway, I just think if they had had some place to go, instead of the old days, it was they dry you out and send you home in 2 weeks. That doesn't work. This works. I think we should do everything. The Catholic Church and all of our churches here, we don't know who's coming in to our sanctuaries. I know who's in that house across the street from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, one other quick question. Are all the residents transitioning from like inpatient programs, or do you take people from addiction straight to that recovery house? Or do they have to be coming from like an inpatient program or IOP or something?
Yeah, we give priority to individuals that have completed 28-day programs or some sort of treatment programs. We do not allow people who are actively using substances to move into our house. We don't take folks who were just recently unhoused. We want people to go through a process where they start to acclimate and when they start to come back to reality. And so all of our residents have completed treatment. Some of our residents have come out of being incarcerated but have completed treatment while they were incarcerated. And those residents that have been incarcerated, again, were not incarcerated for violent crimes or any sexual offenses. Most of those folks were incarcerated for possession with intent to distribute, and that's not what they're doing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Sorry.
My name is Lynn Wojcik. I live at 205 Wakeman Street, Morgantown. I was not coming here today to talk about it. I'm not aware of Matt's program. I guess that's his name. But I live on the other side of 201 Wakeman that Mrs. Hammersmith, since she decided to come up and speak, I felt I should speak. No, those people do not stay in the house. They're out wandering the streets after 10 o'clock at night. They're out at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They're not going to work. They're going out for their cigarettes. They don't leave the porch light on, so they sneak around through the bushes to go and have a few butts or whatever they're doing because my cameras can't see that side of it. I'm 31 inches away. It's really been a problem. It's a problem for the children in the neighborhood and everything else. I'm also happen to be a member of St. John's, and I don't think it should go there either. I don't think that's a great situation for it. And I've been a member of St. John's for 42 years, as my in-laws were before that for decades as well. I feel that I have lower property values since sober living has gone in next door to me. I know the woman across the street that just sold her house took a nice chunk of not great money because of what's next door to me. And I've lived there for 42 years, and I am livid by the fact that they're crammed 12 people, maybe more at this point, into a 3-bedroom house. We're talking bunk beds. How do I know? Because I watched 12 mattresses and 12 dressers get put in a year ago when they were running all over my sidewalk, and I've been before, and my son has spoken, doing my civic duty and everything else like that. But I want you to know, I don't know about his program, but they don't stay inside after 10 o'clock at night. And I'm not talking about the kid that's going to work at 5:30 with the backpack on, or them driving around getting, they're picked up and dropped off to all their programs they got to go to and stuff. I've never seen one take a bus yet. But I just had since Mrs. Hammersmith came up and said something, and she's across the street from it, and I'm next door to it, I thought I should put my 2 cents in while I was here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Taylor Conley. I live at 43 Lane Street, the Women's Abundant Life, sorry. I just want to say, before coming to Abundant Life, I was lost. I had no, sense of living skills or how to be in an environment with other people. Since I've been at Abundant Life, they have helped me get a job. They've helped me learn living skills, how to living with other people. We are not bad people. And we do have rules we have to follow, and if we are caught not following those rules, we get kicked out. We don't get no warnings about it or nothing. Just like another person has said, hearing that they want to support us, but then having all these bad things to say about us, it hurts, it really does, because we are not bad people at all. We are trying to make a difference for ourselves, and
the other person has said, knowing that they allow us in our churches to do our meetings and make a difference for ourselves. It hurts sitting here and listening to some things that people are saying because we're just trying to fit in with everyone else and make a difference for ourselves. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Erin Newmeyer. I'm a Vice President and Chief of Staff at West Virginia University. I want to start by saying I am nervous. So I want to commend everyone who was brave enough to get up here and share their story. My comments and my remarks today are not in any way, shape, or form to question the merit of the program or Abundant Life and the work that they have done. They are clearly a critically needed service for our community. There are so many wonderful success stories here. There is no judgment. That is not the conversation that I'm here to have. What I would like to share on behalf of the university is our concern over the location. We are very much in support of the program. We have also offered to partner with the program in certain ways. I will also share that I have had several conversations with Matthew Johnson this week, as well as several other administrators at the university sharing and voicing our concerns. We were not aware of the project until last week when we received the notice. It was the first that the university had been made aware when we received the public notice of the variances requested. We immediately engaged as an institution to sit down and have a discussion to understand what the program is and what it isn't. The individuals that have shared successful stories here are a testament to the work that they do. What I would like to share is our concern is about the percentage that do not stay on a path towards recovery. And so one of our questions when we asked to learn about the program firsthand was that about 40 to 30% of the participants do not remain in the program. Our question is, where do they go if they are asked to leave the house? There is not an enforcement order. What was shared with us is that they do prefer that they be sent if they're caught breaking the rules and they're using to the emergency room, but they may not enforce that. They also prefer not to call law enforcement unless necessary. They are asked to leave the premise. Our concern is that we have a publicly open and available state resource that we like to have engaged outside of the regular confines of the working hours for our students. Our buildings are public buildings and they are mostly open. And so if they are asked to exit the home, is there a potential or possibility or safety concern that they are then seeking shelter or resource on our campus? So for the university, our primary duty is the uncompromising safety of our students, our faculty, our staff. Parents entrust us with their young, impressionable youth. And yes, they do make poor decisions. So the conversation about what the university and that population participates in is accurate. We work very hard to educate our students to work on wellness and programming to support those. We actually have some recovery programming that we offer to our students, and again have offered to partner with Abundant Life on some of those resources. But to reiterate, the university's concern is more about the population that is unknown, not those that have chosen to do the hard work to brave this path and live with it day in, day out. There is no judgment, there is no question here on behalf of the university. Our concern is more about that 30 or 40% that does not successfully stay on that path.
Thank you. Before you go, can you speak to, you mentioned offering, we want to work in partnership with your organization. Can you shed some light, specific details, what you're proposing in terms of partnering with Abundant Life?
So
maybe comment to whether you received response.
Sure. So I will say we met for the first time on Monday, as we were notified late last week. So we had reached out, had a preliminary conversation, and engaged with a group of representatives. It was Monday morning, I believe. So I will say, we have not put a lot of detail behind the proposal because we're still exploring options, so I do want to be fair.
Because you received notice, just to put a specific date on that. Are you talking July 8th then?
Is Jim in the room?
I think we actually had to call and get a notice. I don't know that, so whenever we called down and got one from the.
Do we have a date, Jim?
But about a week.
Yeah, it's been about a week.
If we want to use, if you want to use 1 week as your reference, that's
1 week
July
is
8th,
fair,
right
yes.
after the holiday.
Correct.
So, yeah.
So what we've offered is, so first of all, let me add some additional context. We have also put in a backup offer on the property. We were aware that St. John's is interested in the property. We also have put in a backup offer on the property. We have also offered to Abundant Life to take over the purchase agreement and then participate as an institution in sitting down with them as early as this week to discuss what the programming could look like in collaboration with the efforts that we already have ongoing on campus. As well as they had asked if we would potentially look at an alternative space for them. I want to be very clear, we do not have a current facility to offer as a swap for the property.
Right.
But what we have said is that we would be open to discussions with our real estate team to support in any way that we could.
Right. Because again, it's not questioning the good work that the organization does.
Nope.
It's the fitness of the specific site.
Correct.
proposed.
And I will say, I mean, you know, when they talk about the success of the programs that they have currently and the homes that they operate currently, they are in a very different residential-based community than what this is. And so I love the fact that what they're doing is working, but this is a different audience. Our student population is a different audience. And so we just question, is this the right location, the right fit to cohabitate these populations?
Right, and in my view, I mean, I don't know. I don't know a lot about this type of program, but I see this as, in terms of the fitness, it's a bi-directional fit. It's not just, do the residents fit, as you're suggesting, does the location fit the nature of what's being undertaken here?
Yeah, absolutely.
In my view, it's two-way goodness of fit. So, do you have anything?
I do not, unless you have any further questions.
Any questions? No.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stephanie Taylor. I'm Vice President and General Counsel for West Virginia University. I'm here on their behalf as well. With the chairman's permission, and I'm happy to come up here again, I am going to talk about, from a legal perspective, both the variance and the conditional use, if that's permitted. Thank you. So I think there's been a lot of, and I echo all of my colleagues' comments about the important work here that the Recovery House does and its important mission. But as we said, we do not think that this is the appropriate location for such a house. So from a conditional use perspective, I think one thing that's really important to note is there's no guarantee that Abundant Life would own this house forever, or it would keep its policies as they do. Once the conditional use is granted, it is granted. And so although they've made the distinction about recovery house versus halfway house, it is granted as a conditional use as a halfway house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is important for the particular neighborhood and community that we have here for that particular purpose. And I do begin by asking you to keep in mind that Abundant voluntarily chose this location to operate knowing it didn't have on-site parking, despite that its business model and contemplating 30 residents plus the additional staff, volunteers, and services deliveries that need to come in. Abundant is asking the city to ignore the zoning requirements instead of implementing a more reasonable business model or instead of finding a location that can accommodate its particular business needs. Abundant's explanation is that its residents don't have cars. I will note, I believe Pastor Matt Johnson indicated that, they have 3 cars for, I think, the 8 or 14 residents. That was a little unclear. They're looking at 33 folks here. So that's either double or triple or even fourth from what they have. So we're looking at potentially, based on that metric, 12 additional cars for residents plus the staff on there. And again, same concept. The variance is forever. So there's no indication that Abundant Life won't have more folks that require cars or parking for its particular residents. And again, as we said, residents aside, and you all have asked some questions about this, this doesn't account for the additional parking spots that can be consumed by visitors, delivery vehicles, and the various support services for the facility. The zoning ordinance specifically contemplates halfway houses, and when developing the parking regulations for halfway houses, the city, I assume, would have considered parking needs, including the argument that halfway houses do need reduced parking, but they are, of course, asking for a variance beyond that. The city developed the scheme that contemplates the lower parking requirements, other than other types, and now Abundance is asking the city to ignore, or the voting board to ignore the zoning ordinance because it's somehow different than other halfway houses based on the regulations that the city has put together. I'll indicate that on 2 recent occasions, as I understand it, the Whitman Street and Wilson Avenue organizations have asked for a variance or a reasonable accommodation because of the proposed halfway house did not satisfy the minimum safety parking requirements. As I understand it, for Whitman, the variance was denied. You all can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And for Wilson, it was tabled. In this situation, Abundant Life is acting for a variance to accommodate the halfway house recovery center that will have more residents than either of these 2 options in its projects, and thus would have significantly more vehicle and pedestrian traffic than either of those 2 locations. So granting this variance in this situation would be inconsistent with some of the prior decisions by the board. Additionally, for the request for the variance, we believe that the relief should be granted for the following reasons. Granting the variance will adversely affect the public health, safety, and wellness of the rights of WVU and adjacent property holders. My colleague talked a little bit about that. The property is surrounded by our campus. It's a densely populated downtown area and student area. It is located in one of the more congested areas of Morgantown, as I think you all know. And its parking is extremely limited. University Avenue is a major pedestrian and vehicle thoroughfare, and of course part of our downtown campus. The property has just that little driveway, and the street parking is very lacking. Obviously, it will, in our opinion, make the area more congested, less safe from a pedestrian and vehicle perspective, and would adversely affect the health, safety, welfare, and rights of WVU and adjacent property owners. There's no special conditions or attributes pertaining to the property which would create the need for the variance. There are multiple other R1 permitted and conditional uses that would be more appropriate for this property. St. John Parish talked about what their potential plans were. The halfway house does imply a higher density than other uses, and again, would create more significant vehicle traffic. Given the congestion in the area, a use creating additional congestion would not be reasonable use for the land. Again, there are other uses for that house that would be less burdensome of the area. Granting the variance would not allow the intent of the zoning ordinance to be observed and would not serve substantial justice, which, as you all know, is a term used in the language of the statute. So I'm using it in the legal perspective. Given the congestion and limited parking area, the property is zoned for R2 for a reason. The zoning restrictions prevent exactly the kind of congestion and unsafe conditions from becoming even worse in this particular area with the extra density. Granting the variance would not serve substantial justice as the burden of congestion and parking overflow would fail disproportionately on the neighborhood properties in the university. In terms of conditional use, again, we believe the congestion would increase. There's inadequate parking. It would do, this conditional use would do nothing to conserve the value of the buildings around. And again, there are other options for the property as well. In conclusion, again, we very much support the mission. And again, we offer similar services on our campus for our students. But we do not believe that this is a good use of the property for this particular purpose. I'm happy to answer any questions, but thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Ryan Fell, 656 Poplar Woods Drive, Morgantown, West Virginia. I am a board member at Abundant Life. I did not plan to speak today. I am a lifelong West Virginia resident. Grew up in the southern part of the state, which has been ravaged by opiates and other substances. I've been a Morgantown resident for longer than I was a resident in the southern part of the state. And I think regardless of the decision that you all come to tonight, people working recovery are in our community, and they're in our community every day, and they're already in these spaces. I think that any talk about the use of this property as it prior was, or as it will continue to be as far as congestion, that is a property that is built to house 30-plus individuals. So regardless of whether that is a recovery house, or that is a Catholic dormitory, or that is a fraternity or a sorority house, I do not think the congestion issues would be remediated in any way by this being served by another use. I think it is highly hypocritical of people, faith-based organizations, and of our land grant institution of our state to speak highly of recovery organizations, but then turn their cheek whenever those organizations come within their spaces. These people, like I said, I would imagine, given the statistics in our state, that everyone in this room has at least been partially touched by addiction in some capacity. These are people that have already been in your home. These are people that you see every day in your community that you probably talk to on a daily basis, and you may or may not know their story. And I think that for us to balk when these people come into our space, because we now know that they are in our space, is hypocritical and honestly shameful, given the history of addiction in our state and what this organization is doing to help people. Thank you.
I happen to be in favor of this application.
Can you state your name?
Jennifer Celine. Do we need an address?
Yes, please.
1224 Fairlawns, Morgantown. I'm in favor of this application. This organization is experienced and has a good record in our area. These are much-needed services in our area. Very few neighborhoods or areas have come to you, I imagine, and said, I would really like to have a recovery house in my area, and the parking requirements or the needs of that recovery house don't matter to me because I really want a recovery house in my neighborhood. It's something that people are concerned about, and often once someone is exposed to the house next door, and you've seen there's mixed reviews, but often some of the main concerns go away. And the fears, we were talking about rail trails. People say, oh, horrible things are going to happen if there's a rail trail in my area. And then the rail trail goes through and they say, that is the best thing that ever happened in our area. And it just takes people working together and figuring things out. There are not very many, this seems like a perfect use for this spot because there are not that many places that that can handle the 30-some beds and the limited parking, and this is one that can. Close to the services and the jobs that people need. There's a house across from the apothecary that I believe is a recovery house, and it's right across from the apothecary, and it seems like that has worked out. You might check that out more. Maybe somebody in the audience knows more about that. when we're saying they with regard to persons in recovery, they as us, as some other people were mentioning, we need these homes. When I needed assistance with a family member, I called WVU. Imagine if WVU partnered with Abundant Life in this property and worked together on how the knowledge and the expertise could flow back and forth. I said, how often does an area welcome recovery home? It just seems like it's something that everybody says, we want this, but then we need to cite it somewhere. And also, I'd note that many people do seem interested in this property, but you can draw your own conclusions there. We're talking about the exact same density as it was used before and the same number of bedrooms. And we're talking about people who are working for their own betterment, following rules that benefit both themselves and the community around them. So to me, this seems like something that we should give an opportunity to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once, going twice, going 3 times.
I'm Stephen Celine. I live at 1224 Fairlawns also. And, you know, apart from all the I'm going to speak on behalf of the application, apart from all the individual voices in opposition to this application, I think the institutions of the university and the faith community and Abundant Life have more in common than they do differences. And Jenny mentioned the word imagine. You know, imagine what could happen if the university and the faith community wrapped their arms around this project. And I think that would be really exciting. It would deepen and broaden the land grant mission of the university. It would provide practical opportunities for students to learn and make a difference in the lives of people recovering their lives. So I think it would be a really exciting opportunity.
Well, okay, so not to interrupt you, but to put yourself in the shoes of the institutions, and they have spoken on their behalfs, they don't necessarily share the viewpoint.
WVU
But I mean, WVU has- WVU
and double their money, and then they could build 2 recovery houses somewhere else.
WVU has a number of helping professions, right? Can you imagine if they wrapped their arms around this and provided new hands-on learning opportunities for students, public engagement opportunities to make a difference in their lives? I mean, you see how successful the program is already. Can you imagine if the faith community and the university wrapped their arms around this too? I mean, wouldn't that be exciting? So, anyway, just wanted to speak on behalf of the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Verlinden, and I'm the Executive Director of Abundant Life. And I would not be supporting my clients if I did not get up here and tell you that they are texting me currently right now, and they are saying that the church had them fired up. That didn't feel very welcoming. I really feel hurt in the town I live in and the university I work for. I feel disgraced and humiliated. I'm okay, but I'm really upset with the ignorance of some people and the inability to understand what recovery housing is. So obviously I am in support of this, and I stand with my clients. They are good people. If you spent 5 minutes with them, you would walk away with the same feelings.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
Do I have an opportunity to respond?
That would be at the discretion of the board.
Okay, thank you. I would really appreciate it.
Want to rebut? If you wanted to rebut, you should have indicated before we closed, but go ahead.
I thought that was for public comments. I didn't realize that was for my comments. I apologize. I would really love to have a chance to respond.
Go ahead.
So, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. One of my favorite writers, Brene Brown, says that it's hard to hate people up close. I'm going to be honest. I knew that stigma existed in our community like it does in every community, but I wasn't expecting to hear people make accusations of violence and sexual assault against people they don't know. I heard the BCA say at the beginning that personal attacks would not be tolerated. Also, the statements made today weren't naming my residents by name. They were attacks on their character and on the character of others. No matter what the board decides tonight, I hope there's some reconsideration about the way that we discuss people and individuals in recovery. I really hope that the Holy Spirit continues to work and convict. I strongly believe that it's impossible to say that I support this, but I support this somewhere else. That is not support. That is simply wishing that people didn't exist. That is ignoring that people exist in our spaces and live in our communities that are trying to get better. It is not possible to say one thing and speak out of your mouth with the other. I know lots and lots of scriptures that refer to that. It seems to me that there's some conversation of this is not in connection with faith-based. I didn't mention in my introduction that my title is Reverend Doctor. I am strongly committed to faith communities and to the work that faith communities do. I find it disheartening that people who are not in recovery think that they have more knowledge about where people who are in recovery should or should not live in our community. Up until yesterday, we had heard from the university about their interest in working with us to purchase the property. I won't get into specifics, but I'll say that the offer that Deputy made for us was not at all appropriate. While Ms. Newmeyer states the university was willing to work with us, there has not been discussion about that with us. I'd like to state and address a few things that have been brought up. First of all, there was some statement that said we should look for other communities and other properties. We have looked for other properties. We have toured numerous houses. There's a lack of suitable housing for the work that needs to be done in our community. Second, we're willing to work with a variety of options for parking. We would have rented spaces or had permits and would have come with that information, but it's not permitted in an R2 zone. We're not simply ignoring parking, we're being limited by the zoning restrictions. I will also state that the parking issues will not be alleviated in any way, shape, or form if students are somehow located on this property. They will be before the board making the same requests. There seems to be a belief that somehow recovery housing leads to an increase in crime. That is simply and empirically not true. There's long-term research that shows that crime does not increase when recovery houses are located in a community. That's not an observation. That's published data that followed Oxford houses over 10 years of experience. We have residents who work at WVU. They serve food, they clean the floors, they do the hospital laundry. Apparently they're allowed to work there, but they're not allowed to live close by. I'm disappointed by the conversations. I think that the conversations have been largely stigmatized and have continued to present falsehoods about the kind of folks that are in our programs and the kind of folks that we're working with.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Can we just go do a straight vote on the conditional use? And then if we need to, because that's the first domino. If that votes down, the rest of these things are moot. Finding the fact.
Yeah, I would say if the board wants to tackle the conditional use first and then go back to opening the variance public hearing, as that was not open as a part of the previous one, then that would be available. You could vote, conditional use first and then go to discuss the variance there. I'd also like to request if the board was open to this, a possible 5 to 10 minute break as the meeting has gone on for quite a while and it will go on for a little bit longer. So I just would like to request if a 5 or 10 minute break would be appropriate.
Do we need a motion for that? We are at the top of the hour.
Right, yeah, just you would motion,
So
take
I
a 5, 10 minute.
Are you open to that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I move that we pause the deliberations until 9:05 or so. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, so we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. reconvene here. We're going to wait for those in the...
Did she tell you to give her a signal to start? Okay.
Oh, and then, so, I would concern too about the definition.
So this is approved for contract.
Yeah, but who's responsible for leasing?
But they're really just like more specific. Halfway house encompasses what they are.
Okay, I think we're ready to continue. So we are, again, we're considering the conditional use portion of the application. Before we continue with that, though, we did receive correspondence on this case, especially with regard to the conditional use portion of the application. So this correspondence is from Montague County Commission. It's actually specifically from a specific commission member, Mr. Bloom, president, and chairman of the commission. So I'm not going to read the correspondence in its entirety, but I'm going to read specifically the second and third paragraphs. So the commission has worked collaboratively with West Virginia University, the city of Morgantown, law enforcement agencies, and numerous community partners to improve public safety and strengthen our downtown area. Those efforts have required significant investment, coordination, and commitment over the past several years. Locating a halfway house and potentially a recovery house at this particular location raises legitimate concerns that should be carefully evaluated in light of those ongoing community initiatives and the unique characteristics of this highly traveled area. The letter goes on to say our position should not be, and this echoes what many of you have said here this evening, our position should not be interpreted as opposition to recovery housing or to the individuals working to rebuild their lives. The Commission recognizes the vital role that recovery and transitional housing programs play in addressing substance use disorders and reducing recidivism. These programs provide an important public service and are an essential component of a healthy community. And I think that's an important point to make. Rather, we believe such facilities are most effective when they are thoughtfully located in areas that provide residents with appropriate access to supportive services while minimizing conflicts with other important community interests. And I would just like to go on record as stating I recognize the value of these programs. And I'm not an expert in substance abuse or recovery programs, and I'm echoing what some people have said here this evening. The heart of the matter is, and this is separate really from the nitty-gritty bearing on specific zoning regulations, the city of Morgantown. Is this specific location the best location for the proposed program? And I just want to go on record stating I don't know that the applicant has demonstrated, has made the best possible and strongest case to demonstrate that this property is the best use for this property with respect to the history of the property, but also just the nature of this specific locale. I don't know that the applicant has demonstrated that. Just my opinion.
Okay, so are we gonna vote?
We have to accept the findings of fact, I guess.
Well, that depends on if we approve it or not.
No, that's the next step. We have to make a
Yeah, but
motion.
that makes no sense to do the findings of fact first.
But legally, that's what we have to do.
Right. If you accept it, you would accept the findings of fact as presented. If potentially you were to deny it, you would choose, based on the findings of fact, why you don't believe it would be approved. So, because as the findings of fact.
Deciding whether to approve or deny it.
Right, so if you approve the findings of fact, you would then go on to vote on approval or denial. If you were to, not accept the findings of fact based on one of the findings of fact presented, and then you would give the reason as to, maybe why. But the board could accept the findings of fact as presented and then vote against it. But if, findings of fact should also be used to base your decision.
Right.
Well, with regard to the findings of fact bearing on the conditional use, oh, wait a minute. It's the wrong set. Wait a minute, where's that? Oh, that's right. It's because the parking comes first, that's why. Mhm. Well, again, the very last finding of fact, it's the most appropriate use of land is encouraged. And the last statement for that specific finding of fact is, by allowing this variance, the zoning ordinance's goals are upheld, encouraging land to be used in a way that is responsible. And I'm not arguing that it's responsible or not responsible, because it's difficult to develop our criteria to determine whether it's responsible or irresponsible use. It's difficult to come at those criteria. However, is the proposed use compatible? It's compatible with the property, surely it is, from a residency standpoint. It used to be a sorority, it's going to be a residency program. But is it, again, the applicant has not demonstrated that how what's being proposed is beneficial to all parties being impacted here. He has not. They have not. So, I mean, if you want to vote on findings of fact, to me, the applicant,
That's what I'm saying,
again,
we might as
comes
well
down,
we should just vote on this conditional use.
or we have the option of tabling.
I mean, look, I'll say right now, I would move to approve the conditional use and the findings of fact as indicated. We've talked a lot about whether this is the best place for a recovery house. I don't think that's our job, is to determine whether this is the best place to put it. It might not be. But we have like clear guidance, and I think because it's a hot button issue, we're getting like dug down in minutia. When we are approving like a business use for something, we don't get into the minutia of like what that business does, or like what it sells or who its clientele is. We're a much broader, we look at things much in a zoomed out sense. It's farming versus commercial, it's residential versus this, that. We're talking about essentially the same use. We're going from the sorority with 30 people living in it to 30 people living in a halfway house. I don't think this is like that drastically different of a type of use, to be honest. Not from the perspective of zoning. So that's what, I mean, it doesn't seem like you guys feel the same way, so that's why I kind of think we should just vote on this thing. But I'll move to approve the findings of fact as is.
questions?
I mean, if I second it, we're going to vote on the
Yeah,
findings of
you guys
fact.
can still vote it down, and then we'll go from, and go from
Sure.
there. All right, so is that a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we'll vote. I vote aye.
Well, okay, let's just state, you have a motion to accept the findings of fact, seconded by Mr. Martin. How do we vote?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
So, since the findings of fact were not accepted as is there a specific findings of fact in reference to the list of them that would cause this, or all
I
of
gave one
them?
example.
Is that the example the board wishes
That's
to use?
one example.
Could the
That
board,
last finding of fact.
could the board list, if possible, the findings of fact that they believe would be the reason as to why the vote would be no?
Well,
So you said yours.
I don't feel comfortable with, by allowing this variance, the zoning ordinance's goals are upheld. Because again, the zoning ordinances are about,
Well, do any of us disagree that the essential element or factor here is the most appropriate use of land is encouraged, right?
Of all these findings of fact.
again, my response to
All right,
that
do we
is
think-
the applicant has not demonstrated that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, that we agree that that's the rub, is that issue. Whether-
As weighed against the interests of other community, members of the community. Because again, we're here to balance the interests of all community persons who make up the community. And the applicant,
I don't know
the
about
burden of proof, in my view, lies with the applicant. It's the applicant's role to demonstrate the merit of what he's proposing, and he has not done that. It's as simple as that.
I would
Well,
also.
this is what I'm saying, we shouldn't start with findings of fact, where you don't start with
But
the rationale. and
that's
then
what
get
the
to
law
decision.
dictates that we do. You have
Yeah,
to
the
approve
findings
the
of fact
findings
have to go first, and then if the board is to like deny it, then they would, what findings of
That's
fact
state,
is the
that's state
reason
code, that's state code.
that the board doesn't
Well,
support
since
it?
it's gonna be 2-1, then I guess you guys might as well just work on your findings of fact.
Right, that would be correct, so, since.
Because I'll be a nay from here on out then.
Since Alex and Chris were the ones who voted in the majority, you would then have to choose which findings of fact you have issue with. It seems like it is the last one.
It's also the one above that. for me.
Specifically.
So specifically, value of buildings will be conserved. I am not in any way saying that this is right. This is just how society is. I mean, we heard from community members saying that because a house not involved with this organization, if I recall, went in, neighboring property values decreased. So I feel like it's safe to assume.
You think WVU's property value is gonna go down because of a halfway house?
Well, but WVU.
I don't care whose property it is.
WVU is not the only party here. There are other stakeholders.
Yeah, I think
And
the investments in that part of town are pretty safe.
But again, yes, we're just the Board of Zoning Appeals. But in my view, the role of this board is to weigh everyone's viewpoint against each other's viewpoint and come to the best possible balance. And in view of that, the role that this board holds or functions as, that, again, the applicant has not demonstrated. In the context of the findings of fact that are formulated or, drawn up as they relate to our zoning regulations. The applicant has not done that. That's my view.
To just make it clear for the record, the reason that the findings of fact were not accepted was because of the last two reasons of the findings of fact, being value of buildings will be conserved and the most appropriate use of land is encouraged. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Now,
Thank you.
we've taken that vote with regard to the conditional use findings of fact. Do we still have the option of?
You guys gotta approve that finding of fact, or lack thereof.
Yeah, so you're saying that the reason for the non-vote is value of buildings will be conserved and the most appropriate use of land is encouraged, and you believe that because, and reiterate your points of why does the last finding of fact and why does the value of the building not being conserved, why is that not?
Well, I already stated that the applicant hasn't met the requirement of demonstrating that what he's proposing or what his organization is proposing is compatible.
Just state the inverse of it. The applicant failed to show this was the most appropriate use of.
You can put it in those
the most
terms too.
appropriate use of land
Yep,
is encouraged.
with regard to that last finding of fact. Did not demonstrate that what he's proposing is compatible or of greatest benefit to all parties concerned.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. The applicant has not met the requirement of demonstrating that the most appropriate use of land is encouraged.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
And then do you want to restate yours?
And the applicant has not demonstrated that the value of buildings will be conserved in surrounding properties.
Thank you.
Now, having taken that vote for the findings of fact, do we still have the option of,
I don't think you did take the vote. You have to move to approve your new findings of fact.
Correct.
Vote on it.
And then that would be, I would say that the board would then vote to approve or deny the conditional use, and then you would state the amended reasons, and then that would be as a part of it.
okay. So I move to accept those last two findings of fact as amended to show that the applicant has not met the burden. Do we have a second for that? Okay. So we have a motion to not accept the findings of fact or to accept the amended findings of fact. And we have a second from Mr. Martin. How do we vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have a motion to grant, because I have to put it in affirmative, the conditional use for, and this part of the application, again, let me go back to the, I'm sorry. This is for CON 26-052. So we have a motion to grant the requested conditional use. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Misfeld. How do we vote?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye. And now the variance is moved, correct? Or do we still need to vote on that?
1 second.
It wouldn't make any sense.
I mean, as it is an agenda item, you could still vote on it, but since it is related to the use of the property, I'd be.
Can we just make a motion to moot it? Because it's become moot?
Right, I think that the board could make, and we could double check this at a later date, to acknowledge the denial of the conditional use, therefore a variance is no longer necessary as the use was denied, and then if, right, that would just be, I think that would probably be appropriate.
Okay, so, I move to moot the second requested, and we want to be clear that this is agenda item B, VAR 26-051, Abundant Life Recovery Housing Network. We're moving to moot a vote on this requested variance because it's dependent upon approval of the conditional use.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to moot the second variance request. We have a second by Mr. Misfeld and Mr. Martin. How do we vote?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we weren't able to grant your request for conditional use. You will receive correspondence from planning, and they are, Mr. Thompson, you are available for consultation with the applicant.
Yes, planning will follow up with an action
And-
letter, and that will describe the denial, and then any appeal or any decision made by this board can be rendered by the Court of Mon County.
Yep, so yes, this can be, right, this can be appealed to the
Right.
Montague County Court of Appeals. And again, Circuit Court, sorry. And, you know, anything in that appeals window, if you decide to move forward, you do it at your sole financial risk, but you will receive correspondence from planning.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Well, she's not gonna, we do have to wait, we'll probably, we'll give it a kind of. Any announcements from staff?
I would really quickly like to remind all members of the public that are here that the hearing isn't finished. We have some final announcements, and then we need to actually
Thank you.
close
Sorry
the
about
hearing. So you are more than welcome to leave the hearing if you would like. However, please, if you are to remain seated. Much appreciated.
Sorry about that.
Nope, all good.
Do you have any announcements?
So, otherwise, the next meeting, regularly scheduled meeting, there will be cases for that, so there will be a regularly scheduled meeting in August. Additionally, at this moment, there's no additional announcements from staff, but I would like to request that some board members stay behind after, just to discuss some things like the sign update and things unrelated to the hearing today. But just wanted to, please stay around. The city wants to talk to you about some other projects. But otherwise, there's no other announcements other than there's currently items for the next regular scheduled meeting.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. I move to adjourn.
Second.
So we have a motion to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Bisfeld. How do we vote? Aye. Aye. Thank you. This regular meeting